Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of DGS. Pat has finally woken up and is now going to give us his testimony of what happened that night. Were the Gyarados involved, or were they really not? Beat Officer's Pat's report.
The Gyarados have nothing to do with this. I can say that definitely as a beat officer for the London Police. The reason for that is that the window in their room is one of those push-out types. To begin with, there's no way we would have missed any strange objects flying through the air. I may have left the crime scene, but Pat was watching over it the whole time. I didn't take my eyes off the crime scene for even a second. Not even a single strange thing happened there. Well, what's this? A push-out type window?
I didn't receive any such information, Beat Officer.
I'm sorry. You see, I was so sleepy that I...
Don't think you can be let off the hook for everything simply because you were sleepy, Beat Officer.
Yes, sir!
Sorry, but... What is that thing you were talking about just now? A push-out window type window? That goes for you as well. Don't think you can be let off the hook for everything simply because you said sorry, Japanese boy. Sorry.
I just looked it up, Naruhodo-sama. Try to recall the window in the Gyarados room.
In the Gyarados room?
It's possible to open the window to let in fresh air, but... apparently, a push-out window opens like this.
Oh boy, now we have a problem. Precisely. The most unique feature of such a window is that it has a stopper attached to it so that it cannot be opened except for one edge. Cannot be opened?
Yes, that's exactly right. In other words, even if one were to throw a book or a knife in the direction of the open window with all one's strength, it would hit the half-open glass with a ping and then simply fall straight down.
But... It seems that at last even you, who seems to have come from a country that knows nothing of windows, understand. For something to have flown across the large street over 15 yards was a possibility that never existed in the first place. At the very least, as long as the glass in that window was not broken.
What? Say, did you see that, Pat? That silly Japanese boy was all, what? I certainly did. And did you see the way I finished him off, Lola? It was wonderful, Pat.
Oh my god. What the heck? My possibility was crushed before I even started the cross-examination.
Now then, defense, you may begin your cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Cornered again, huh? Alright. We're skipping over that one. In other words, you mean it's a type of window that doesn't open all the way?
That's precisely what I mean. Its purpose is simply to let in fresh air, so it doesn't open up any further than this.
That means that even if something was tossed from inside the room and flew out the window, it would only hit the glass and plummet straight to the ground if you check the map. It likely would have fallen around here. So, what if the crime scene had been moved?
That's on a completely opposite side from the crime scene.
Didn't someone have mentioned that it was a push-out window earlier? That reminds me. May I ask something, Pat-san?
Yes, what is it?
How did you know that information? How did you know that the window in the Gyardo's room was a push-out type?
Oh, well that's pretty simple. I assisted in the investigation of this case yesterday.
Lola? If I may, Lola-san.
Yes?
Did something happen? You, suddenly looked really happy.
I was just remembering just how lucky we are.
Lucky?
Of course, I feel really bad for the woman who was stabbed, but this attack happened just a hair outside of the vicinity covered by Pat's beat.
Is that so?
Yes, if memory serves, Briary Road was the boundary line. Right, Pat? That's right, isn't it?
Pat-san?
Oh, yes, that's right. Actually, I helped with the inquiry at the Gyarados yesterday, because their boarding house is within the boundaries of the beat I work.
It really was just a hair outside then.
Pat-sama, I'd like you to confirm one thing for me.
So, who is in charge of the area containing the walkway in front of Gyarados' boarding house?
Yes, the one by Gyarados' boarding house, right? The side of the walkway is within the beat I work.
That's the first I've heard of this. Something really is telling me that they just moved the crime scene.
If on that evening the attack had occurred on the opposite side of Briar Road, we probably would have been able to go out for our anniversary dinner. Because then it would have been Pat's responsibility.
How truly like the beat officers who work to protect the citizens of our city. That's some very admirable resolve.
That's why I think this must mean that God is looking out for Pat because he's always trying so hard. Right? Don't you agree, Pat?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you're right, Lola. This information, maybe I could make a note of it.
Leave it to me, Naruhodo-sama.
Case document. The walkway where the victim collapsed was just barely beyond the border of Beat Officer O'Malley's beat.
Well, I'm up next.
But the sun had already set, so the area should have been dark already, right?
We were looking for our star of happiness as we walked around that night.
What star is that?
The star that would guide the two of us to happiness.
Right.
If a burning book had cut across the sky before us, we may have taken it to be a shooting star.
Oh, that was Pat.
If something as auspicious as that had flown across the sky, I would immediately have said my wish 3 times without even having to think about it. Let Pat be promoted to chief of police. Well, the night sky was so full of fog and smoke that we weren't able to see any stars, though.
Aw. In other words, there was no sign of a knife or a book cutting across the sky just before the attack.
Yes, sir, I swear it on London's starless sky.
He doesn't seem to be lying.
And when we saw the attack happened, we hurried to the scene of the crime.
If memory serves, you ran for the station to call the police, right, Lola-san?
Yes, that's right. I know all the stations along Pat's beat, but it couldn't be helped. There's no way you could have known where the station along a different beat were. So I asked Pat for directions, but I got a little lost. Oh, Lola, you're so cute when you get lost. Oh, Lola. Oh, Pat.
Get a room already.
So I was away from the crime scene for about 15 minutes. But even during that period of time, Pat was keeping close watch over the crime scene with the eyes of a pro. My shift may have been over, but I'm still a beat officer.
Nothing strange, you say?
Yes, I kept a close eye on the crime scene the whole time, but no one approached the crime scene nor did anything go missing from it. I, Patrick O'Miley, as a beat officer, can proudly declare that.
But I think that seems a little strange.
What do you mean strange? I'll have you know that I'm incredibly normal.
This burnt copy of The Adventures of the Lion's Mane should have been in Mr. Gyarados' room. So how did that get into the victim's hand? Since you didn't take your eyes off the crime scene the whole time, maybe you noticed something?
What if it's a completely different book that also just happens to be burned?
In that case, why was a burnt book like this in the victim's hand? As you can see, she had a bag hanging from her shoulder.
Either way, when I started watching, she already had the book in her hand.
Is that so? There's something about this statement that's bothering me. The mystery of the knife in the victim's back, and the mystery of the transported book. I feel like they must be directly linked somehow.
I apologize for what I did earlier. It was impudent of me.
Huh? What did you do again?
I selfishly requested that we be allowed to cross-examine Mrs. Gyarados, even though it was overruled.
Oh yeah, I guess, but I think you're right. I think we do need Mrs. Gyarados' testimony if we ever want to expose the truth behind this case.
So you think so too?
Well, think about it. Regardless of how far away the crime scene was, or if it had bounced off the window and the glass in the window, Gyarados-san's book really did get to the scene of the crime somehow.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
And Mrs. Gyarados' reaction when she saw the knife. There's no doubt she's hiding something.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
Somehow, we'll manage to find some sort of clue in this cross-examination. And that'll definitely lead us to the truth.
Right.
Right, before we go back to the testimony, I'm being asked to examine the knife, so let's do that.
Oh my, look at this, Naruhodo-sama! The tip of this blade! Just a little tiny bit of it has been broken off!
You're right, nice catch!
But where could the broken bit of the blade have gone?
Yeah, let's see. It seems pretty unlikely, but what if it's still in the victim's wound or something?
Oh, that sounds incredibly painful.
Where is that missing piece? Alright, that's noted for now. Let's continue on. We're gonna be pressing the first statement now. And just how can you be so sure?
I'm glad you ask. The reason is, behold, this right here. My police license, and written in there are the Sacred Beat Cop rules. I believe he showed us that earlier as well.
Did he? I don't really remember. Well, I don't know, that was a couple videos ago.
White cops have for duty to the citizens they serve, and that's everything to me. That's why I'm standing here now, for my poor dear wife. Yes, rubbing these tired eyes of mine. Oh, Pat, how manly.
Why, it's only natural, Lola.
Oh, Lola. Oh, Pat.
No, that's not what I meant. I was asking you your grounds for stating that the Gyarados were unrelated to this case.
Oh, so that's what you wanted. You've got to be more specific.
So, would you mind telling me? This guy.
In that case, the time has come at last. I'll tell you every last detail. My shocking grounds for saying that the Gyarados are unrelated to this case. But before I do that, there's just one thing.
Eh?
One thing I'd like you, Mr. Asian Defense Attorney, to know. I'd like you to take this tale of the spirit of London beat officers back to Asia with you as an antidote.
Unfortunately, I've only just arrived to London as an exchange student.
I'll do you the honor of letting you borrow this. Read it closely. I doubt you'll be able to finish reading it without shedding a few tears.
Alright, I'll borrow it then. Police license. Proof that the owner is a London beat officer. A wonderful collection of rules for beat cops. Great! Well, before we do that, okay. I was trying to make sure the lines are still there, but let's first examine this thing and look it over. London police rules for beat officers. Beat officers must preserve the peace within their beat as was specified by their home station's region. Beat officers must work for the sake of city citizens, making rounds of 20 miles a day within their beat. Regulations. When an incident occurs, the investigation is the responsibility of the beat officer that the crime scene falls in. In the case of a crime, officers of the beat they supervise must participate in the first response effort and aid the detectives.
May I say something, Mr. Attorney?
Yes? What is it?
Are you honestly still doubting us?
Huh? No, not really. You gotta be kidding me, is this?
I'm warning you, don't estimate me just because I'm a woman. I am a so-called police officer's wife, so that reason enough to trust me.
Right. Like I said, I definitely...
Stop right there! I don't want to hear any excuses. Honestly, at least hear me out. Do you mind, Your Honor?
Yes, fine, go ahead. You may add your testimony. At times like this, all you can do is let them talk. I'm pretty sure I just heard the judge mutter something really quietly just now.
I heard that! The Japanese boy there doesn't understand what it means to be a police officer's wife. I may be able to overlook that, but Pat won't.
Alright, I'll listen carefully.
I wonder just what does Lola-sama plan to say? I'm confident in my eyesight. I'm just a bit rubbish at finding my way around.
Okay. I'm not saying I doubt your testimony, or...
I definitely saw it that night, alright? That mustache Asian scattered his books and ran off trembling in his shoes.
Right.
And there's something I definitely didn't see that night. Which is a burning book or a sparkling knife sailing over Briar Road.
Okay, I understand. So you say you're rubbish at finding your way around?
Yes, I am. It's a little embarrassing, but I often get confused about where I'm supposed to meet Pat and end up making him mad at me.
Pat? Pat-san, is everything alright?
Yes, I'm fine.
Did Lola-san's statement bring something to mind?
Yeah, well, I guess so, yes. Now that you mention it, I was thinking it was the same that night too.
On the night of the attack, Lola-san got lost?
It was when I sent her to the neighboring beat station. Took some time for her to return. I expected her to be back within 10 minutes, but she took 15. No, Pat, quit picking on me. This time was different. It was all because of the bouquet.
Bouquet? What's all this about a bouquet?
Yes, the anniversary present. Oh, you're so wonderful, Pat. You gathered up change from the ground while patrolling the city and brought it for me, didn't you?
That sure sounds like a nice story.
I completely forgotten about that bouquet until just now. Remember, dear? Yes, I see. Yeah, I guess so. Well, but that bouquet was supposed to be just between the two of us. This really isn't the place to be bringing it up, you understand, don't you, Lola? Really? That's not fun.
What? What was that all about? Hatsan was obviously shaken just now. I don't really understand what this is all about, but I get the feeling we should hear more about Lola-san's bouquet. Lola-san, about that bouquet you just mentioned, could you tell us a little more about it?
Sure, I don't mind. That night, I got lost because I dropped a bouquet.
You dropped your bouquet at the scene of the crime.
I sure did. I was pretty shocked at the time, see? We saw a figure suddenly collapse and we went closer to see. It was a woman who'd been stabbed. I was so shocked that I dropped the bouquet Pat had given me. It was outside the lamplight, so it was kind of hard to see around there.
Then, in order to call some officers, you went to the neighboring beat station, right?
Yep, and then I came back with some patrol officers. I saw the bouquet lying on the walkway, so I went closer. Get this! The victim's corpse was gone!
So she was moved! Incidentally, the victim is still alive.
Anyway, so I was really confused when a voice called out to me from across the street.
And that was Hatsan's voice.
Right? Silly me, I must have messed up and returned to the wrong side of the walkway. But I think this time it was the bouquet's fault. I mean, what was it doing over there?
The bouquet that moved to the opposite side of Briar Road, huh?
What a curious tale. I ended up forgetting to pick up the bouquet again. After Pat had gone to all that trouble of buying it with the change he collected from the streets.
In regards to that bouquet, are you perhaps referring to this one?
That's the very one! That's the bouquet Pat bought me with change he picked up on the ground.
Do you think maybe you should quit blurring out that little fantasy of yours over and over?
By the way, where was that bouquet found?
According to this report by the officers investigating the vicinity around the crime scene, it seemed to have been dropped alongside the walkway in front of Mr. John Garrett's house. Garrett-san. It was in an area that the gas lamp's light didn't reach, so it wasn't discovered until the following morning. Due to the fact that it was on the opposite side of the road, it was assumed to be unrelated to the case.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prosecutor. You'll let me have it back right away, won't you? For the sake of caution, I believe it should be accepted as evidence. Huh?
Gift bouquet, a present from Pat to Lola. Dropped due to the shock at the sight of the victim. You'll get it back, Lola. A British rose. It certainly is beautiful. Huh, so this is a rose. This is my first time seeing one. You're not interested in flowers, Naruhodo-sama? It's not that I dislike them, I just only recognize 3 kinds.
Huh? Just 3?
Plum blossoms, peach blossoms, and cherry blossoms. I can't help thinking that's a little too limited. I believe Phoenix Wright also only knows 3 types of flowers. This is some pretty swanky wrapping paper.
Naruhodo-sama, it's just old newspaper.
I guess anything looks swanky wrapped in something from England, huh? I suppose so. Is something wrong? No. I was just wondering if one were to wrap a stone-baked potato in an English newspaper, would it look like a European snack? That's Susato-san for you. She is a girl, after all.
But it's proof of our love. You better give it back afterwards, okay? If you don't, I'll scream.
Yes, ma'am. We'll make certain not to forget. Alright, this is the last statement, and we need to present the bouquet. You claim that not a single strange thing happened while you were watching over the crime scene. But that doesn't add up.
What do you mean?
Just a moment ago, Lola-san made the following statement. She went to call some officers from the station, and when she returned to the walkway that was the scene of the crime, the victim's body was no longer present at the place where she dropped the bouquet. The fact remains that the place where the victim collapsed was on the opposite side of Briar Road. This cheap bouquet, if one can even call it that when it's only a single flower, could easily have been blown across the street by a gust of wind.
Cheap?
If that were the case, why did Pat-san not mention that in his testimony?
No one approached the crime scene, nor did anything go missing from it. Hatsama assured us of that, on his honor as a beat officer. But that bouquet was mine! It had nothing to do with the incident. That's why Pat didn't make a point of mentioning it.
It's not just the bouquet. Throughout this case, there have been several mysterious, unexpected changes. Unexpected changes, you say? Yes. Lola-san's bouquet and the book from Gerardov-san's house. Under normal circumstances, this book, The Adventures of the Lion's Mane, which was thrown from Gerardov-san's room, should have hit the push-out window and fallen on the west walkway. However, the fact was that it was discovered in the victim's hand when she was on the opposite side of Briar Road. And Lola-san's bouquet, on the other hand, should have been dropped on the east walkway at the scene of the crime. But the fact was that it was found lying on the opposite side of Briar Road, in front of Gerardov-san's house. There's simply no way that could have just happened. Not unless someone intentionally moved them.
What are you saying? What's that supposed to mean? It sounds like you're making an accusation against Pat.
That's right. No one must pay any attention to what that attorney says.
Hi, juror number 4.
Books? Bouquets? What do any of those insignificant things matter?
Mrs. Gerardov seems to have gotten her second wind. Regardless of how insignificant these things seem, rearranging a crime scene is a crime.
It's fabrication.
And perhaps the name of the person who created this fabrication will soon become clear, along with the reason they had to try to hide the truth. Fabrication, you say? That's awfully flippant. Who on earth would bother with such trivialities? The person who tampered with the crime scene that night. The person that all the evidence and testimony implicates. In that case, the court would like the defense to state its answer. As to who it's suspect of tampering with the crime scene. We will answer that question in the next video. I'm very sorry, we are now out of time, so we must stop here. But I'm pretty sure we can, I'm pretty sure you guys have probably guessed who it is at this point. We'll see how that goes out in the next video. See you guys then. Yes, Your Honor. Cornered again, huh? Alright. We're skipping over that one. In other words, you mean it's a type of window that doesn't open all the way?
That's precisely what I mean. Its purpose is simply to let in fresh air, so it doesn't open up any further than this.
That means that even if something was tossed from inside the room and flew out the window, it would only hit the glass and plummet straight to the ground if you check the map. It likely would have fallen around here. It seems that at last even you seems to have come from a country that knows nothing of windows, understand. For something to have flown across the large street over 15 yards was a possibility that never existed in the first place. At the very least, as long as the glass in that window was not broken.
What? Say, did you see that, Pat? That silly Japanese boy was all, what? I certainly did. And did you see the way I finished him off, Lola? It was wonderful, Pat.
Oh my god. What the heck? My possibility was crushed before I even started the cross-examination.
Now then, defense, you may begin your cross-examination.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of DGS. Pat has finally woken up and is now going to give us his testimony of what happened that night. Were the Gyarados involved, or were they really not? Beat Officer's Pat's report.
The Gyarados have nothing to do with this. I can say that definitely as a beat officer for the London Police. The reason for that is that the window in their room is one of those push-out types. To begin with, there's no way we would have missed any strange objects flying through the air. I may have left the crime scene, but Pat was watching over it the whole time. I just looked it up, Naruhodo-sama. Try to recall the window in the Gyarados room.
In the Gyarados room?
It's possible to open the window to let in fresh air, but apparently a push-out window opens like this.
Oh boy, now we have a problem. Precisely. The most unique feature of such a window is that it has a stopper attached to it so that it cannot be opened except for one edge. Cannot be opened?
Yes, that's exactly right. In other words, even if one were to throw a book or a knife in the direction of the open window with all one's strength, it would hit the half-open glass with a ping and then simply fall straight down.
But
I didn't take my eyes off the crime scene for even a second. Not even a single strange thing happened there.
well, what's this? A push-out type window? I didn't receive any such information, Beat Officer.
I'm sorry. You see, I was so sleepy that I...
Don't think you can be let off the hook for everything simply because you were sleepy, Beat Officer.
Yes, sir!
Sorry, but... What is that thing you were talking about just now? A push-out window type window? That goes for you as well. Don't think you can be let off the hook for everything simply because you said sorry, Japanese boy. Sorry.